Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first ever live Game of the Year panel for the Double Barrel Gaming channel. For a little bit of clarification, my brother and my very two close friends growing up will be doing this show. This is something that we have done privately for about 8 years. Yes, it is a bit nerdy, but we all grew up together in the gaming business, working for the now defunct Funkoland. We all started out as co-workers and eventually blossomed into a brotherhood. We've been gaming with one another for well over 20 years, and we've attended semi-big conferences such as PAX East and will eventually and hopefully get to E3 in LA as a group. Now, if you've been following me or you've been subbed to my channel, community was, is, and will always be at the forefront of this channel. That is exactly where Double Barrel Gaming Presents was derived from. Well, continuing the trend, I would like to give a very welcome to a new member of this outstanding community, and that person is Professor X, aka Dirk Douglas 6 of Twitter. Head over to his page, give him a follow, and tell him that Boom sent you. He seems like a good dude, and you know what? He just came to Twitter and this community, so let's show him a very warm welcome. Now, for today's show, we will be breaking down all of 2018 with topics that include biggest surprise and disappointments, 2018 overview, biggest games that got snubbed, individual top 10s that includes personal game of the year, honorable mentions, group game of the year based on a point system that was derived from Jay the Retro Gamer, thank you for that, sir, and most anticipated game of 2019. Now, before we start this party, I need to introduce my esteemed panel. First up, he is my brother in real life, Neo Mental. Growing up, we had some incredible gaming memories. Some of them you've heard about when I talked with the Iron Lord podcast crew a few weeks ago, which he still hates me for, by the way, and some we will eventually talk about today. He had the title of the professor given to him by our pop, and he is my go-to when I have tech questions, and someone that is not only my brother, but is my best friend. Welcome to the show, Neo Mental. What's up, dude?
I really want to say something else about that grandfather story, but I'm going to let that slide for now. What's going on? Hello to everybody. I'm happy to be here.
Well, listen, it's great to have you. And yes, you will clarify the record because for some reason you remember it different than I did. But that is what we're here to do. Now, next up, we have Jay the Destroyer, who got his tag from being one of the biggest Kiss fans on the East Coast. He recently built an arcade in his house, which looks insane. And Jay the Destroyer and I had some serious trade-offs growing up when it came to how many games we brought over each other's house and traded. He is still pissed that he never got the Cyberbots Collector's Edition for the Sega Saturn, which I still have in storage. Sorry for that, but welcome to the show.
Hey, yo. Crazy Ramon callback. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Well, listen, thanks so much for being here. This is something that we've talked about privately about getting the four of us on a show. Hopefully we get a lot of people in the chat that want to know about our backstories, that listen to this show on a regular basis and kind of, get an idea of where 2018 went for us personally. And last, but in no way least, Jay the Retro Gamer. Now, we all met him in the same way. He was the acting manager of Funkoland on Central Avenue in Yonkers. He hired us, and though he may never admit it, we were the best hires he ever had. He is also a very techie kind of a gamer, knows a thing or two, of course, about retro gaming, and has seen this industry grow from its infancy. Welcome to the show, Jay the Retro Gamer.
Hello, hello. Glad to be here. 7th annual Game of the Year Awards. It's a personal favorite of mine and something I look forward to every year. Glad to be here. Thanks.
Well, listen, it's great to have everybody here. It's certainly great to do this live. We've talked about this, and it is a big deal for me personally because now that I have the channel, we can do that. But you know what? Before we get into what we all came here for, and that's to hear lists and our our opinions of 2018 and what gaming meant for us in this particular year. I kind of just want the community to get to know my guests, and we're going to start with my brother Neil Mental. Listen, Mental, you've been gaming for a very long time. You and I have a tremendous amount of history. Besides being brothers, we actually should be rich right now because we invented talking while playing a game. You and I used to use the phones to kind of talk with one another as we played a game. Certainly not at the same time, but we played these particular game, and we never got any credit for that. But it was a big deal for us. Give the people that are listening a kind of a backstory of where you came from when it comes to gaming and what keeps you coming back.
Well, I mean, I've been gaming since Atari 2600, so that's pretty old. We all met at Funkoland, which was a crazy time. I was thinking about it the other day. It's 26 years ago. And I still don't forgive Retro for making me stack and alphabetize 6,000 Nintendo cartridges on my first day of work. 16 hours.
I'm sorry about that.
I'm never gonna forgive you. But yeah, I mean, Funkoland was a huge part of it. But just every game system that's been out, we've played, and just the joy of it. I mean, I remember back in the days when we used to go to my house. Unfortunately, I didn't have a good school attendance, so a lot of times people used to come to my house to cut. We used to play Madden, basketball all day long, and just the joy of playing with friends and stuff, and playing all these games that were just amazing. Commodore was my favorite system. I just remember sinking hours into that. Just games, man. It's all about joy. I mean, people read, people watch movies. We play games. So, it's just something special for me.
What tell the people, and we talk about this all the time. What was your favorite Commodore 64 game?
I mean, easy, Zach McCracken. I mean,
nice.
I loved it so much. I mean, Maniac Mansion was good, but Zach was just weird. I mean, I just loved that game so much. I mean, I still go back to it. I really wish they would have re-released that. This game was just one of my most favorite games. I still have the 5-inch floppies. I don't have a Commodore anymore. I got messed up, but I may track one down. I don't want an emulator for that. I want the real thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, listen, there's something about having the old hardware and the old, software to really bring back that retro feeling. Holding the, I mean, it's great. Digital era is here. It's going to be, obviously it's going to keep advancing where at one point or another, you may not even have a box underneath your TV. But yeah, I'm right there with you. We both have a lot of stuff in storage. I mean, I have some real classic consoles. Like the Vectrex, for instance. I don't even know if people remember. Yeah, people don't even remember what that is. Back in the days, the Vectrex, it was its own entity where it had its own screen, its only controller folded out, and the cartridges went in. And it didn't even have color. You had to use plastic screens to add color to your game, which was obviously, why it didn't be a success. But before I get to Jay the Destroyer, because we have a lot to talk about, I have to thank Lord Sovereign for the incredible $5 super chat. And he says, heading to a family thing, but I just wanted to show some love to Lord Boom. Keep up the good work, my brother. And yes, we have a big announcement coming up sometime in the next few months, something I'm going to be doing with the Lords of the Iron Lord podcast, and I cannot wait to talk about that. But Jay the Destroyer, you and I, my friend, we had some trade-offs. And one of my personal favorite Christmas memories, and I think it's one of yours as well, is when we imported Sonic Adventure for the Sega Dreamcast, and it arrived at my place where you were waiting with a tin of cookies to give me, and you played the entire Christmas Eve stories like that are, I think, what really kind of bring the friendship together. But tell everyone where your gaming comes from, why you continue to come back, and why we did these crazy trade-offs.
My story is not so different from any of yours. So surprise everybody, we're all a bunch of old dudes. So we're old. So everything goes back to the 2600. And then since then, I've pretty much owned or tried to own every system that came out. Big Sega fan. So, I was the weirdo who took his NES and threw it out the window and bought a Master System and loved the Master System. I loved it. Just everything, arcade, it doesn't matter. But like I said, Sega stuff has been my favorite throughout my life. So the Dreamcast, the Saturn, the Genesis, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. This gaming is like it's life. It's the way I chill out. That's basically it.
Well, I mean, listen, obviously life gets in the way. And, I'm not going to get into particulars, but I have to say publicly how proud I am of Jada the Destroyer. He had a real tough 2017. And 2018, he made a comeback, kind of like, the phoenix rising from the ashes. And gaming was at the forefront of his therapy. And I think that is for everyone. You come home from a tough day of work. It could be for anything. Your boss breaking your balls, or you just had a tough day. You got something wrong. You got hurt, or whatever. And it just was a long shift. Some people that I know, like a good friend of the show, Jago, is normally working 12 and 14-hour days. And sometimes he's had to work through being in pain because he got hurt on the job. And video games are the therapy that we all use to navigate through life. But, Jada Destroyer, real quick, the trade-offs that we used to have were something that are always going to be memorable for us. We used to watch, Jada Destroyer used to come over, or I used to go over to his house, and we used to watch WCW Nitro back when wrestling was good. He or I would bring loads of games just to try and trade with one another, to try and get that gem that each of us had. Mine was the Cyberbots Collector's Edition that came with the art book and everything. And I never relinquished that particular part of my collection. Destroyer, tell us about those. How much fun did we have with those collection trades that we used to do?
We had a great one. You were like the shrewd guy who didn't want to give up anything. And I was the guy who would have given up half a collection just to go home with one game that I wanted. So I remember I offered you, I might have been 6 or 7 games and a kitchen sink for the Cyberbots, and you didn't even play that anymore. And I got a Raspberry Pi now, so
now you have Cyberbots.
On that, so we're all.
Well, you know what? It's funny because I'm not the out of the group. I'm the least technical. Everyone knows that. I'm not making that up. I would consider myself a technical boob, if you will. And before the internet was a thing, I remember calling Jada Destroyer on a regular basis, and my tagline to him was, "Hey, dude, any Capcom news?" Because I was such a big Capcom fan. So again, it's these stories that I think that really ground us as people.
I gotta throw just one real super quick. We're old and nerdy, and me and Boom used to hook up on the Netlink. Okay.
Oh my God, yes.
Saturn. Try to hook up for some Daytona, and something else I don't even remember. And I just remember you had your apartment. And, we're talking about old, phones back then, like with an actual phone cord.
Yes.
And Boom had a cord that must have been about 200 feet. Rolling across the entire apartment. People were tripping on it. And it was like just to play Daytona.
Oh, my God, yes.
Get on the Netlink. The Netlink.
The Netlink, yes, another incredible invention that gets little to no credit in 2019. Yes, the cable. I could have climbed up to the 5th floor using that cable. That's how long it was. It was outrageous.
But do you remember X-Band?
Oh yes, I do. X-Band,
Super Nintendo.
Yes, you and I played Mortal Kombat with the green blood. Killer Instinct, which looked like blobs on the screen, but back then, greatest games that ever was released. But you know what? Real quick, before I move on to Jay the Retro Gamer, because he has a very interesting story, one of which that involved a possible kidnapping and dump into a lake for not returning a particular system to a Yonkers police officer. We'll talk about that in a second. Jay the Destroyer, I think that your kids are in the chat and they would like you to give them a public shout out, and that would be pretty awesome.
Hello, Emily and Ben.
Yes.
And Ben is a great player.
Yes, he is.
And he just wanted me to say that his favorite game is Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Nice.
And he wanted that shouted out.
Okay, well, listen, everyone knows, and you know what? He is a good kid. His Jay the Destroyer's kids are fantastic. And they're gamers, and they grew up, watching their dad play, and I think that's really awesome. But we have to move on to Jay, the Retro Gamer. Now, we all met Retro when he was the very shrewd and snotty at times manager of Funkoland in Yonkers. Yeah, a little bit. You were tough to kind of get a hold of sometimes. As a matter of fact, during a blizzard that dumped over 2 feet of snow, you refused to close the store, and Dan and I had to put our foot down and walk out because guess what? I drove a shebang back then, and my brother, who had to save us because one of my wiper blades decided to stop working, and he had to keep his arm out on the car the entire drive home using the broken wiper so we could see and not die. You are, like I said, you are a technical dude. You helped me build the Raspberry Pi that I use for pretty much just Aliens versus Predator, which is my favorite game, like top 5 games of all time. But you know what? You also have a tremendous history in the business of gaming. You've worked for numerous stores. You've been to many trade shows. You were actually there at E3 in its infancy and got to see it grow into what it is now. Give the people listening kind of like just kind of a background story for gaming, what it means to you and where you started.
Yeah, I mean, my story is the same as everyone else's, but I think it bears saying that, growing up in the 70s, I'm so thankful that we got to grow up in the beginning.
Yes, I agree.
Of the industry and see how it's grown over the years. But otherwise, my early gaming is not any different than anybody else's. So not only did I play on the Atari as well, but just hanging out in arcades and like Nathan's and in Yonkers for those that know that place. Playing in the arcades, putting your quarters on a machine and, to announce that you're next, and reading game magazines like Electronic Games and EGM before there was ever such a thing as the internet. When multiplayer meant kind of trying to get an invite to your friend's house to play Space Invaders on the 2600 because you hadn't gotten it yet. It's just a simpler time. So, and then in my 20s, of course, as mentioned, I did run a Funkoland back in the day, and I fell in love mostly with the Super Nintendo, which I think, in my opinion, was way better than the Genesis. There I said it. But that's where a lot of, the love of certain genres just kind of came from. I did get to attend the very first few E3s. And while working at Funko, probably the greatest time of my life when it came to games, because it made me feel so much like an insider in an industry that I loved and still do. And in the 90s, I also got introduced to PC emulation, through things like MAME and other programs. So I got to kind of relive my early days, my early video game days through that. And as a gamer, it was awesome and still is that I consider myself a core gamer, but I gravitate mainly towards like action adventure, platformers, open world games. I love the immersiveness and depth of the current games, but at heart, I'm always going to be the retro gamer. So,
Yeah, well, listen, you have an interesting story. I mean, it's pretty cool that I mean, but listen, I talk about this all the time. A lot of us here remember playing when games looked like were basically programmed to be just blocks and dots, and lines across the screen. And now in 2019, we're getting photorealistic imagery that is only outdone by actual movies that cost $300 million to make. So it's pretty, I feel very privileged to have seen the industry grow the way it has. But you know what? Great stories from everybody. And what I want to do is I kind of just want to start moving on to the topics because we do have a lot to cover. First, the first topic we're going to go into, and I'll start with Neo Mental on this, is the biggest surprise / disappointment for the calendar year of 2018. Let's discuss what blew our socks off and what title as a gamer let you down. So Neo Mental, you start if you don't mind, dude.
The biggest letdown for me was Fallout 76.
Yep.
That, I mean, oddly enough, it's in my top 10. But I mean, just from disclosure, my top 10 is a little weird because for the last, well, probably the entire time we've been doing this top 10 list amongst ourselves, I've always been getting clowned on because I never actually have 10 games because ever since Destiny and the Division, that pretty much takes a lot of my time. So, I don't get a chance to play a lot of the games. So a lot of stuff falls by the wayside. Sometimes I buy it, only put a couple hours in there. But Fallout 76, I put a chunk of time into, and that game has so many problems, it's not even funny. But it still made it. So, yeah, I mean, between the glitches, the fact that the human interaction is almost non-existent, server crashes, economy.
How about the fact that the game looks like it's 10 years old? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get a lot of the criticism for it. I mean, look, it's Fallout. They're not going to redo that engine. They're not going to rebuild it from the ground up. I wish they would. They're just not. It's horrible. I mean, yeah, it's 2018, 2019. We should be getting something better, but Bethesda's not going to do that from scratch. It's pretty much what you're going to be playing for the next 20 years. But yeah, that undoubtedly was the biggest bomb for me. It just made me angry.
Okay, so in regards to like biggest surprise, like what shocked you as a gamer in 2018?
For me, Detroit.
Nice, good pick.
That one, it was completely off my radar until like a little bit before it came out, and then once I started playing it, I did not expect it to be as good as it was. And I just haven't seen a combination of storytelling and production in that in a long time. I mean, for me, that it sideswiped me. I did not expect to be able to sink that much time into a game that wasn't Destiny or Division in a long time.
Nice. Strong. Two strong picks. Jay the Destroyer, I want to go to you, dude, because like me, you buy everything, or at least try to. What were your biggest surprises and or your biggest disappointments for 2018?
The biggest disappointment, I'm just going to say, even though I dug it, and I'm still playing it, Darksiders 3, I really expected it to be a lot better than it was.
Okay.
Even though it's good, I just feel it's not as good as 1 or 2.
That's a shame.
I agree there. So,
I mean, even though I do like it a lot, I mean, the checkpoints are ridiculous.
Yes.
That I do have a huge problem with. In this day and age, when you have to play a half hour, 40 minutes to save, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, that's
that's ridiculous. But the biggest surprise is not really a game. It is the arcade 1-up machines.
Yes. Talk about that for a second, because you built an arcade in your home, which we're going to see for the first time, and it's pretty impressive.
And I'll tell you something. They came out. I said, all right, I'll check it out. And I said, like, the Street Fighter machine, like, that looks really cool. And then I got the Street Fighter machine, and it was awesome. And then I got the Galaga machine, and that was awesome. And then I was like, all right, I can only fit 2. And then I made space for 3. And then I was like, I'm done. And then I moved one little piece of furniture, and I was like, okay, fine, Pac-Man. So I have 4. and a lot of people dog that company, and I honestly I don't get why. I've had minimal to any kind of issues at all. Anytime I've had to call them for any kind of customer service stuff, they've been incredible. And they're just so cool. And it's not a real arcade machine. You're buying it at Walmart and you're buying it at Best Buy. But for what it is, when someone asks me like about the Street Fighter machine, I'll be like, it's an awesome Street Fighter collectible. Like, that's really how I look at it.
Yes.
Like, but I thought I've had them since because I pre-ordered Street Fighter all the way back in June. So I had it since pretty much day one when they first shipped them out. And I thought after a while it would get a little old. It never gets old. I wake up every morning and look over at them, and on a Sunday morning to have a cup of coffee and to sit at Pac-Man or Galaga, it's just awesome. It's awesome. So I love them. And that's been the biggest surprise for me this year, like how much that's affected me, like what it's done, what they've done. So God bless Arcade 1UP and their MK2 machine, which is coming out by September, which looks killer.
Yes,
and absolutely. I will figure out a way to fit that somewhere. If I have to toss it in the bathroom or toss one of them in the bathroom, that I will.
Well, listen, I'm going to say this real quick. A lot of people may or may not know this. Arcade 1UP is a sponsor of the Double Barrel Gaming channel on YouTube. I still pinch myself. I can't believe they took a chance on a small but growing channel. They were very, very kind enough to send me right before Christmas, as a matter of fact. It's actually considered an early Christmas present, the review cabinet for the Midway Arcade, which I will be putting together and reviewing either Monday or Tuesday of this week on the channel. So please look out for that. And yeah, they just the CES just happened, and they just announced Mortal Kombat 2, Space Invaders, Final Fight, Golf Tee, which is going to be good for some people, because back in the days, yeah, a lot of people a lot of guys, especially older guys, used to stand in front of that machine and just play for hours. So that's going to be a big deal. But you want to say something else?
For 1 second.
Yeah. So
a lot of people also dog it because the marquees aren't lit. Well, Golden Tee is the first one that has a lit marquee. So they are doing lit marquees. Supposedly, it's going to be a little more in the future. And if they do, then that's fine. They have wallcades coming, which don't have the space. Is super cool. They have the countertops.
Yeah, which look awesome. Yes.
Also look cool again if you don't have the space. And I just want to say one thing: is a lot of people think like these things take up a lot of space. As you'll see tonight when we hang out, dude, they don't take up a lot of space. The footprint is 20 inches.
Yes.
Across. 20 inches and maybe like 15 deep. I mean, it really does not have a big footprint. So you could fit, you think you can't fit one, you definitely could in a corner somewhere in your place.
No, definitely. I'm like I said, I can't wait to hook mine up, and I can't wait to because later on this evening we're getting together for dinner, and Jay the Destroyer is going to actually show off his arcade to us. I'm super stoked for that. But real quick, before I get to Jay the Retro Gamer, I have to say a big thank you to Josette Rivera, who of course is my wife, for the awesome and supportive $20 super chat, and she says, "Good afternoon, all. Glad that the guys finally let everyone in on your annual gaming discussion. Have a great time." And yes, darling, we certainly will. Thank you so much for that. But Jay the Retro Gamer, I want to get your opinion on this, because I think you have a good one and some important talking points. Your biggest surprise and your biggest disappointment of 2018.
Yeah, so when it came to disappointment, I have two that I kind of jotted down. The first one being on a small scale, Tempest 4000. Not very many people have played that game, but back in the day on the PlayStation, one of my favorite games of all time was Tempest X3. And once I knew this game was coming out, I was super stoked. But once I put my hands on the controller and started playing this, I said, this game doesn't feel right. It's not the Tempest I know. I put it down almost immediately. And I was just so disappointed in that particular game. So personally, that one's a disappointment. But one that may surprise people is, to some extent, I thought Red Dead Redemption 2 was a disappointment. I'll explain more of that later. but to understand why. But it wasn't the game that I had hoped it would be. On the surprise side, another big pick for me was God of War.
Nice.
Look, there's no question. I don't think there's any question that the game, we all knew that the game was going to be great. What I didn't expect and what surprised me is just how heartfelt of a game. Anyone that knows the character of Kratos knows how one-dimensional he was. And to be so engaged in a story with the name God of War on it couldn't have been a bigger surprise to me personally. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're a big fan of the God of War series, so I'm sure for you as a fan, seeing that it went from just a pretty much a hack and slash, and someone even dare say that it was soulless to the point where it was just I'm angry and completely just tear everything to a real emotional, strong story where backstory of what happened after he was impaled at the end of 3, which we all thought was going to be the end of him, and they reimagined this in a way. I mean, my goodness, Cory Barlog and his team just completely knocked it out of the park. Again, it's by all rights, it should have been my game of the year. It got edged out by a bit, but we're gonna get to that in a little. Yeah, of course. And that, if you watch the Game Awards, and he came out and said that was awesome. P.S. by the way. Anyway, we're going to move on to the next topic, and it's the biggest title that you personally believe got snubbed by the gaming media when talking Game of the Year. And I've seen many lists through personal choices, and they, of course, are all subjective to each gamer. But there are some egregious mistakes that I have to talk about, that we're going to talk about. And for me personally, because normally as a host, I don't answer the questions because, I'm asking them and I want to get the opinion of the people I have on. But I'm, of course, because today is a Game of the Year discussion, I have to get myself involved. And for me personally, it was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This game not only looked great, it played great. The story was telling. You can see it from 2 different perspectives if you chose the brother or the sister. It is a game that I put almost nearly 200 hours into. I am literally waiting by the fence for the DLC to drop. I try to play it the day it comes out. That's how excited I am. I still jump in and run around. Even though I have almost every achievement in the game, I'm still enjoying it. But you know what, Neo Mental, I want to get to you on this. For you personally, for someone who watched 2018 come and go, what game, in your opinion, got the snub from the media?
I mean, again, I'm going to go back to Detroit. I just didn't feel like it got the
good point. That's a good, great choice.
As I think a lot of times when it's discussed, Detroit just wasn't in there. And I mean, when you look at a lot of the lists, the storytelling in that game, the mechanics of it, I mean, I just never see it get the love it should have gotten. There's a couple other games, but for me, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm going to be championing Detroit for most of the list, but I really feel that Detroit should have got way more than it did.
I agree.
I absolutely agree 100% with you. It's one of my favorite games of 2018. There's no doubt about it. I think when you talk about games, a lot of the times, story or graphics, characters, those are at the forefront of a discussion. But there's something that was a certain story or a situation, if you will, of racial undertone being really told through the eyes of 3 different androids, and I think that never gets mentioned, and I think it's a big deal because yes, it is not the mainstay of the game, but if you read between the lines and you see what story they were trying to tell, it was very impressive, and it was a very serious life topic. And again, they didn't shove it down your throat, but it was the story that they were telling. I think that particular part of the entire game very rarely gets spoken about. So good choice for that, dude. Jay the Destroyer, I want to get to you on this. In your opinion, what was the biggest title you felt that kind of got overlooked by the media, which does do that every now and again?
I'm going to agree with Neo Mental, and I'll say Detroit. It's like, it should have gotten more accolades than it did. And just to get this out of the way, because my kids are driving me nuts, my son Ben wants to say that he feels that Jurassic Park Evolution for the Xbox One, that was overlooked.
Well, I mean, listen, again, he has a voice. He is a fan. He is a gamer. So he does have a voice. So good for you, Ben, for getting that out there for everyone to hear. I do greatly appreciate that.
And I will say that for Detroit, that honestly, I'm not just trying to name drop my daughter, but she played a lot of it in front of me when I just didn't have the time to play it. And she loved it. And I loved watching her play it. So, Emily, good job playing Detroit.
Yes, again, one of my personal favorites. I think that if you own a PlayStation 4, I think you owe it to yourself. Again, if you're into story-driven games, okay, it may not be. Some people say that's a movie. I've heard that numerous times from other people, like, you're playing a movie. Listen, if you're holding a controller in your hand, in my opinion, you're playing a game. Now, if it's not your bag, I completely understand that. But it certain should not be overlooked. First of all, graphically speaking, it might be one of the most incredible graphical showpieces on the PlayStation. And again, going back to its story, I think that it's worth taking a look at. It's certainly, if it's probably half price now. You could probably pick it up for like $30. I think it's worth that. I paid the full price, and I'm not sorry that I did. But last but certainly not least, Jay the Retro Gamer, I want to get your opinion on, what title for you did you feel that you needed more championing, and more importantly, what do you think? Where do you think the media, took a misstep on?
It's really hard for me to kind of mention because I really don't know of one off the top of my head. Certainly Detroit. I mean, I kind of echo everyone else's. I mean, everything in video gaming doesn't have to be about shooting, hacking, slashing, and I'm just very glad there's companies like Quantic Dreams that elevate the medium in that way through storytelling. And there's no question that Heavy Rain back in the PS3 days was one of my absolute favorite games on that system. So just very happy that a game like Detroit exists. It's actually one of the games that I have not gotten to this year. I have the game on my shelf. I am going to get to it at some point, but as of yet have not. Otherwise, I tend to play a few more of the smaller games that always can use a little bit more love. Games like Chasm, Time Spinner, both two great Metroidvanias. Celeste, I know, got a lot of love, certainly at the Video Game Awards, but that game is great. And so games like that, games by small teams that just have a lot of passion for a genre, and it shows.
Okay, well, you know what? We're gonna talk about the top 10 is coming up, so get ready for that. But Jay the Retro Gamer had actually made a point to say that we should talk about honorable mentions prior to going to our top 10, and of course then the game of the year. So we're going to do that. That's going to be the next topic, and I'm going to start off. I have 4 that made the list, this particular list of good enough but not perfect enough to make it into my personal top 10. I want to start out with something that launched on December 7th for the Nintendo Switch called Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I think it is absolutely outstanding. Yes, I understand it's kind of just an HD move over, but the fact that they added every character from every game ever is a big deal. They have a DLC plan, which is incredible. We know we're getting Joker from Persona 5, which is ridiculous. We know the Piranha Plant was free if you bought it on day one, and there are some real heavy rumors of other fighters that include the main character from Ninja Gaiden, which is ridiculous if they get him, but I won't go too much into that. Octopath Traveler, if you're into JRPGs on the Nintendo Switch, is another fantastic title. Of course, it is an exclusive. That is a big deal. Another one that I think a couple people on this panel, and maybe even I know Jago's going to dig this, Capcom's Beat 'em Up bundle. Was fantastic. I mean, everyone knows on this panel, and I think people in the chat know how much of a Capcom nut I am and how much I appreciate side-scrolling beat-em-ups. And the last on the list is going to be another side-scroller, Raging Justice, which I really, really enjoyed. I got a chance to privately talk with the developer, that was in 2018, correct?
Yes, it was. That was a good one, dude.
Yeah, another one. And you know what? Last but not least, and I would feel almost terrible if I didn't mention this, A Way Out. I believe it was this year as well. And I think that considering that it was a game that you could buy and logistically play with your friend without them owning the copy was ingenious. We all know that the guy F the Oscars, he's one of my favorite people of all time to go on one of those shows. But you know what? I want to go to Neil Mental. For you, personally, dude, what were your honorable mentions for 2018?
Well, since my list is short, there was only one that technically didn't make it, and that was Far Cry 5.
Okay, strong.
The reason why that was because I didn't sink a lot of time into it. I technically could have put it in the 10 spot, which was weird because my 10 is going to be controversial anyway. But I for Far Cry 5, I just kind of felt it was more of the same. I think I got like 10, 15 hours into it, and just nothing in there really made me feel like going back to do more. It just, it was just kind of like there was nothing really, anything in it that like blew me away. So that was why I just made the honorable mentions, and that was the only one I had.
Okay, well, you and I both played A Way Out. Do you feel that could have been one of them as well?
Well, believe it or not, that made my top 10.
Oh, strong. Okay, excellent. Well, that's good. Jay the Destroyer, I know you play a lot of games as well as try to buy everything like me. What games for you were good but not good enough to make your personal top 10?
I'm going to throw out a couple of really weird titles that if you're like not deep into stuff, I guess maybe you never heard of, or maybe you did, whatever, or maybe you didn't try it. So I'm just going to hit these hard and fast. One, Heavy Burger. Does anybody know what that is?
I have no idea. I'm sorry.
Okay. Heavy Burger is Heavy Barrel and Burger Time combined with Robotron.
Nice.
And it's on the Switch.
Never heard of this.
And it's freaking it has no right to be as good as it is. And it is a party from beginning to end, and it's awesome. Dragon Ball Fighters.
Yes, strong.
That was. He has a shooter on the Switch. I love old school shooters. And I'm not talking about an actual first-person shooter. I'm an old dude, so a shooter actually means to me a little spaceship that shoots. Denmaku Unlimited, awesome game. One of the best, space shooters, whatever you want to call it, in a long time. Here's one real quick. I don't care what anybody thinks. SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy.
Nice.
What a fun game that was. Two more. My Hero One's Justice, which is an anime thing. Dude, I'm not into anime, so I don't even know what it is, but the fighting engine is awesome, and the graphics are killer. That's for the PS4, and I probably think the Xbox. And Onrush, which is in the Game Pass, which at this point, if you haven't tried it, it's killer. Totally killer.
Absolutely. But one of the best arcade races to come around in years. Sony had one for the PS3 that was a launch title, Joe. That was our favorite racer of all time. I forgot the name of it.
MotorStorm.
Same team. What a great game. Listen, if you have a PS3 and you want to play an incredible racer way ahead of its time, MotorStorm still to this day holds up on how strong that game is. And Onrush continues the madness. It's in Game Pass. It was free in December for the PlayStation Plus members. Again, they were giving it away. Absolutely well worth it. A strong list, dude. Really good. And I want to finish it off with Jay, the Retro Gamer. For you, what made this list but not the main list?
As I mentioned before, I think Chasm, this small little game that was, I believe it was Kickstarted a couple of years ago. I could be wrong about that. It was, it's a good Metrovania genre that you'll find that I love a lot. But it just simply didn't stick with me when I put down, about halfway through it. And also Celeste, which I think is free right now.
Yes.
On Game Pass. It's
I mean, on the Games of Gold.
Yeah, Games of Gold. I mean, everyone deserves, to owe it to themselves to at least try it. I thought that platforming in that game felt so good, but the difficulty in that game ramps up pretty quickly, as well as the frustration factor. And that, those two things combined just made me kind of give up way sooner than I might have normally done it. I'm just not that good at it, but it's a fantastic game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the great thing about these shows. That's the great thing about getting people to talk about their games, because sometimes they're games that we didn't hear about that will go and say, oh, okay, they said it on this show. I'm going to go over to my Switch, PS4, or Xbox One, check it out, look at the trailer, and like, wait a second, I love what they're talking about, and you buy the game. I love hearing about this stuff, but you know what? Overall opinion in gaming for 2018 is, it depends on who you speak to. Some people, and we've the four of us have joked about this, that every year that passes, when we get to these shows that we used to do privately, and now we're going to share with the world, it's the best year in gaming. It trumped 2007, which is considered like the standard, if you will, when it comes to years in gaming. I think 2018. Man, it's so many strong titles, and I think I say this every year, and I get the guys heckle me for it. It was real hard to put a top 10 list together and then get those things situated where, because when you play a game for 40, 50, 60, 100 hours like I do, you almost feel that if it's not put in the proper spot, it's almost like you're insulting the title. So for me personally, putting the top 10 wasn't as hard getting the 10 in there. It's where they went. And we're going to start that right now. And we're going to start with 10. And I'm going to go first, and we're going to kind of do a round robin, and we're going to give a little bit of a story as to why. And for me, on number 10 for 2018 is going to be Hellblade by Ninja Theory on the Xbox One. I did not put as much time in it on the PS4 when it launched, but I played it through to completion. I actually played through it almost twice, trying to get that one last achievement, which I still did not get, and I'm pissed about that. But it was a game that told such an incredible, emotional, real life, for some people, kind of a story, and done by a small team. As a matter of fact, you know about who did the mocapping. I mean, it's just they were cutting corners left and right, trying to make this game a reality, and what they were able to do was nothing short of a masterpiece. But Neo Mental, I want to get your number 10 for 2018.
All right, so this is where it went left. I actually picked up Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Well, actually, I rented it. I installed it and everything. I got to the main menu, and that's as far as I got. So knowing, watching, some of your stuff and knowing what it was, especially all the buzzword, I just wanted to put it in the slot. So that's an asterisk for me. I think that had I actually got a chance to play it, it would have cracked my top 5. But I just feel bad that it just did not get any love. But the game, it's really good from everything that I've seen and everything that I heard. I haven't had, any real complaints about it. Well, I haven't heard any real complaints about it. So, it's at number 10 with an asterisk. So
okay, all right. Listen, I mean, again, life, it comes first, and sometimes we can't get to every game. I think that's an obvious statement, but that's a strong number 10. Jay the Destroyer, what was your number 10 for 2018?
Again, I'm just going to preface my list with it's my favorite games, not the best or whatever. And some of them are going to be, I don't know if someone thinks they're odd or whatever. Number 10, Mega Man 11.
Strong title. Absolutely strong game.
That came back and get in it and get back on track more than Mega Man 11. Awesome graphics, tight gameplay. That's my number 10.
Well, that's a strong. I mean, listen, Capcom came back in a big way. Mega Man 11 looked amazing. I do have it. I have to get into it. It's unfortunately part of the backlog. And Jay, the retro gamer, what is your number 10?
I also just wanted to preface that a lot of when people listen to this, they're going to think that we've played through all of these games in the top 10, and that's That's not going to be the case. It's the best games that made the most impression, the biggest impression on us, but not the ones that we've completed 100%. Just wanted to point that out. That being said, my number 10 is Forza Horizon 4. Game is absolutely gorgeous. I love
strong.
I love the season gameplay that Microsoft heavily marketed. Its attention to detail is incredible. But honestly, when it comes to Turn 10 Studios, you expect that. There's not really much to say. It's the single best racer out there, but secretly, I just still wish for another great Need for Speed, Ridge Racer, or God forbid, Burnout game. So.
Well, I mean, listen, one can hope, but that's a strong title. For me, number 9 is going to be Onrush by Codemasters. I mean, I have to say, I had put they had a free weekend for that game, and I got about maybe 700 achievement points in that free weekend. It's a game I must have put 30 plus hours in a matter of 2.5 days, counting Friday. I could not put it down. I think it's probably one of my favorite racers in all time, in like my top 5. It was just so amazing to play. The graphics were gorgeous, tight control. It just kept me coming back. So that's my number 9. And I want to go to Neo Mental. What was your number 9 for 2018?
Well, my number 9 went to A Way Out.
Strong.
The fact that it was a game that you could play. Because, I mean, look, you got Destiny, you got all these other games where you just team up with someone, do your own thing, and then you're done. But I think that that mechanic was incredibly interesting. We played it, a bunch of times. Excuse me. And it was a really just interesting way to for storytelling. I mean, you got one guy going on one side and someone else is doing this other part, trying to avoid this guard. I mean, it was a really different game, and I just love it when someone does something outside of the box and is trying something different. Because I really feel like we've kind of apexed to a point where the console graphics, I mean, they're going to get better, but we're kind of really at a point now where I want to get back to gameplay. I could care less right now about the graphics of it. I really just need strong story. I need strong mechanics. I don't want to sit there and be frustrated because something didn't work out right. And I got to sit there and try and figure something out. I just really want to I just want to get lost in the game. And I think that A Way Out was really a good direction. I want to see more of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's true. I mean, obviously, graphics are one thing, but gameplay, control, and story, if those are a fail, then the game, it could look amazing and still be a fail. So I agree 100%. Jay the Destroyer, what comes in at your number 9 spot for 2018?
I love dropping games on a list that no one else mentions. So I'm going to say Strange Brigade.
Ah, strong title, dude.
I love Rebellion games. I love from Aliens versus Predator to Sniper to Sniper Elite. I mean, I just like this style of gaming. Fun, stupid, quick gameplay. Just so good. If it's in the Game Pass, if you haven't checked it out, just check it out. It's top notch, stupid fun.
And it's 4-player co-op.
Yes, it is. It's got some good DLC too. And like I said, you'll have a great time, not heavy, just having a good time. And what's better than that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like an old school shooter almost.
Old school, yep.
Yeah, I truly enjoyed that. Also in Game Pass, PS, by the way, if you're interested. Jay the Retro Gamer, what comes in at number 9 for you?
Yeah, another very much under the radar game comes in at my number 9, which is Time Spinner. It's a game that was kickstarted, and I'm a huge supporter of Kickstarter. And when it comes to genres that I love that I don't see getting made very much, it's got very Symphony of the Night vibes for those that love that game like I do. In its design and its whole aesthetic, it's got a very unique time mechanic to it. And if you're just a fan of Metroidvania genre like I am, you have to play it.
Yeah, that's a strong title. That's very strong. Well, I'm going to move on to the number 8 spot for me personally, and that's going to be Forza Horizon 4 by Playground Games. This was, in my opinion, a complete masterpiece. And again, it's one of those titles that deserves to be talked about it as the game of the year. But there was just so many games, and for someone, most of us, I think all of us, support multiple consoles here. It's hard to try to put different games in their places. For me, number 8 is going to be Forza Horizon 4. Neil Mental, I want to go to you. What was your number 8 game for 2018?
Well, shockingly enough, Fallout 76.
Okay, talk about it.
Reason why is, listen, it's got a lot of problems, but I love Fallout. I mean, when Fallout 3 came out, I played that game for like a year straight. Like, it was insane. So, I mean, I do like the alternate history games. There was enough there as I played it that made me want to play more. And it's unfortunately one of those games where you just kind of hope that they're going to get it together. They've been patching stuff like left and right. I really want them to, fix some of the glitching stuff and a lot of the people that are duping the items because it crashes the server constantly. But when you're kind of in there and the story that they laid out, it just makes you want to go further. So, I mean, like, I'll probably rent it again and past that, I don't know. I mean, if they fix more of it, I'll keep playing. But there is enough there to definitely want me, that had me wanting more. I just wish it just did not ship the way it did.
Well, I mean, listen, you're entitled to your opinion, and it's not wrong or right. I mean, listen, that's the it's for me and for a lot of people, it's a big disappointment. But for people that put the time in, they enjoyed it, and that's really what it comes down to. I want to go to Jay the Destroyer. What comes in at your strong number 8 for 2018?
Completely under the radar. Fist of the North Star, Lost Paradise.
Oh, talk about it. I knew that was out, but I did not play it.
Great game. It's running off the Yakuza engine. It looks awesome. It's fun. It gives you that like warm, fuzzy, classic Sega feel to a lot of it. It's a mix of Shenmue on top of it. It's got a lot, and that's my favorite game of all time. So that's why it's number 8. And a lot of people haven't played it. If you have a chance to check it out, check it out. It's killer.
It would be a great game for Sony to give away for their PSN free games. That would be a good one I would look to play. And last but certainly not least, Jay the Retro Gamer, what comes in at number 8 for 2018 for you?
All right, boys and girls, let's have a seat for this one. My number 8 is Red Dead Redemption 2.
That's okay. Talk about it.
I've said this in prior Game of the Year dinners between us that I thought that Red Dead Redemption 2 was a lock to be my personal Game of the Year. I just absolutely adore the first one, and my impressions that I'm about to give it just from basically 3 or 4 hours of playing the game, that could change widely because I am going to play it some more, but this is where it kind of ended up. I mean, it's the most intricately designed world that I've ever played, without question. The sense of immersion in that game is just simply off the charts. It's gorgeous, and in the few story beats that I played, the writing seems like it's going to be really good. But what I didn't like was it was just too many systems in this game. I mean, there's so much you had to learn in order to fully play this game that it's just, I kind of pick up a control. I just want to kind of enjoy something. It's too realistic. And
okay.
The fact that they've sunk so many years into it and they couldn't develop a fast travel system, at least a proper fast travel system.
Thank you.
It made me feel as though they didn't respect my time. Now, I know Rockstar, that was their intention. That was in their design of the game. So I don't fault them for it. But me personally, not to mention, it just has the normal Rockstar, control. Like, it's a little janky to play, in my opinion. And it forgets what makes games fun, which other games on this list do not forget. And it's too long. I think, the fact that it's like 60 hours.
60 plus hours, yeah.
Story, which, look, is great, but, you know, I just ain't got that kind of time. So
listen, I don't think anyone really has that time. Well, I do. I'm kind of retired, but it's okay. That's a horse of another color.
Sure.
I got to talk about number 7. Now, here's the thing, folks. I don't need to explain my choices. I don't think anyone on this panel does. I know that I'm going to raise a few eyebrows with number 7. It actually was a little bit. It could have fallen to 9 or 10 because it completely fell off a cliff for me personally. I play games and I rate and base my opinion on games on how much fun I have. Of course, if you're putting in 60, 70, 100 plus hours into a game, you enjoy the game. For me, number 7. It might be a surprise for some. Red Dead Redemption 2 by Rockstar Games falls into the number 7 spot, and it's a game I don't know if I'll ever beat. Here's the problem. The game is gorgeous. It looks amazing on the X, runs the best on the X. We all know that. We've seen the videos, right? The game tells a story. It's incredible. It's immersive. But here's my problem. It's slow as hell. To do anything just takes so much time that it just takes away the fun. Getting from one end to a mission to the other could be as much as 60 to 90 minutes. And you know what? As much as the game looks good and has a great writing, great voice acting, it just takes too long to do anything. So it fell off a cliff for me. I'm at the end or in the middle of chapter 4. I don't know if I'm ever going to beat the game. Maybe sometime down the line. I don't know. But I want to get to Neo Mental. What was your number 7 game for 2018?
Red Dead Redemption.
There you go. Talk about it.
I mean, same thing. I mean, you know, listen, the time I tried to get in there, the beginning was rough. You know, horses. Listen, I'm playing Destiny where I've got like freaking starships and whatnot. And then I got to slow down on a freaking horse. I'm like, you know, listen, it's a bit much. You know, it's Grand Theft Auto 200 years ago. So, but I will say this, the story is amazing. Am I going to beat it? I'll probably beat it like summertime because there's just not enough for me to keep running back to it. You know, 2 months away from Division 2. I got another shield I got to finish before I'm done with that. So I just don't think I got the time for it. And the story in there has not made me go back to finish it. So I'm in no rush. Nothing in it has made me want to keep going. I just don't think that the general population is going to keep going crazy for Red Dead Redemption. And I think once it's done, I don't think it's going to have an online presence like Grand Theft Auto did. So
no, I don't think so either. No, that's a strong choice. I have to give a shout out to Born Distracted. And he says something really interesting and very true. He says, it's nice to hear games selected that aren't part of the in-crowd type. And I absolutely agree. I don't think status quo does games justice. I think it you know, being part of the popular opinion is not something I strive for. I always like to walk on the outside of the line, and I'm glad that you agree. And but I have to talk to now Jay the Destroyer. What comes in at number 7 for you for 2018?
Octopath Traveler.
Strong, very strong title.
Best RPG I played all year. Great graphics, just to be, you know, on the train coming home from the city and be able to play that, killer. Totally kicks ass. And a lot of people didn't I mean, it got like great reviews and everything, but on like top 10 lists, it like a lot of people it hit like right around 11 or 12. For me, it's 7.
Well, it's a strong title. Let's not forget that it is a Switch exclusive, which is a big deal. There's been talk and rumors of them working on the second one already, which I hope that they do. I think that the Switch has a big enough audience, and I hope that the sales continue strong for that game. But Jay, the retro gamer, what is your number 7 pick?
Just one note that Octopath Traveler is another, other than Detroit, is the other game that I wish I would have gotten to. It's just the game speaks to the retro gamer in me because I used to love RPGs back in the day. So hopefully I get to that. But as for my number 7 pick, it is The Messenger
Nice, strong title, dude.
Yeah. And again, a game that got a lot of positive buzz when it first came out, but it's again one of those under the radar type things. It's got that very 8-bit Nintendo Ninja Gaiden like feel to it in the platforming, which is, you know, it's a game with the right amount of challenge, but yet rewarding. It's not something that's frustrating, at least to me. It's very, you know, it's got a very cool retro inspired design that, you know, spoiler, does change from 8-bit to 16-bit in the middle of it. And it has you switching back and forth, which is kind of a cool mechanic. You know, some call it a Metroidvania, but it really, I mean, that element doesn't kick in for at least half the game. And then when it does, it doesn't really feel like one in its truest sense. But the other thing that gets, you know, overlooked on that is that some of the writing in that game is genuinely funny, you know, from especially in the boss fight. So that's my number 7. It's just one of those fun games to play.
Well, that's a strong title, dude. I mean, can't argue with that. Well, we're going to move on to number 6. And for me, Detroit Become Human by Quantic Dreams. I've said it. I'm not going to regurgitate what I talked about. The underlying racial tension in regards to androids versus humans. The graphics, my God, they are just so good. It handles very well. It is probably the best looking game on the PS4. I'm into those types of games. If you are, again, I will highly suggest please giving it a look. If you don't want to buy it, go to Redbox, rent it. You might absolutely love it. But Neo Mental, what is your strong number 6 for 2018?
For Forza Horizon.
Nice.
Yeah. You know me, I love racing. Shockingly, it wasn't higher because I just kind of feel it for it. Like, I like the whole Game Pass thing, but you know, I think that I think they should have just sold it. I think some of those games, I think it kind of cuts the enjoyment out of it. You know, you want to drop your money and kind of sink some time into it. Me, I had no real desire to keep playing it because I could play it whenever. But you know, I love the graphics on that. It's insane. You know, I like racing other people's times and stuff like that. So I mean, you know, it's more of the same, but it's still a great game. I love it.
Strong. Neo, not to cut you off, but are you saying, if I caught this correctly, that you like it slightly less because it's in Game Pass?
Yeah, here's the thing.
I don't get that.
Well, here's the thing. It's like if I buy it, I'm invested. You know, like I spent this money. I think that was probably my problem with Assassin's Creed Odyssey 2. I rented it from the library. And, you know, quick pause. Your local library does have current video games. You can put games on hold depending on your library district. If there's multiple libraries in district and the game is at a different library, find out if they have a hold system that'll transfer it over to you. Because I rented Assassin's Creed and Fallout 6. It was free, and you can bring it back and rent it again. So, I mean, if you're not buying a game, you're not really invested into it. So, I mean, for me, if I didn't drop my 60, I was like, all right, well, it's there. I'm not really rushing to go play it. Then when you're playing it, I don't know. I can't describe it into words, but if I didn't drop the money on it, it's just there. I could care less not whether I'm really enjoying it or not.
No, I can actually understand what you're saying. It's almost like a sense of accountability, if you will. You know, you spent the money, so you feel in the back of your mind that you absolutely have to play this game because you bought it. Whereas if it's sitting in Game Pass, you're like, man, you know, it's there, and I'll get to it when I get to it. And maybe there isn't enough. You know, you don't feel like the pressure of having to play it. I can understand. But real quick, I want to welcome and also say thank you to Errol Channer in the chat, who's not only enjoying the show, was nice enough to drop $2 in the super chat. Dude, thank you very much. That is extremely kind of you and greatly appreciated. But Jay the Destroyer, what is your number 6 for 2018?
My number 6 is Destiny 2 Forsaken. If I could use that as
dude, go with yourself. Talk about it.
Well, time out. That's changing some things, because usually before we wouldn't put stuff in there like that. So I purposely kept mine out because I get tired of getting yelled at every year.
I'm sorry, that was a new release. That was a new release. Yes, it's DLC, but I'm not a Destiny player, so I had to go through everything to get to the Forsaken stuff. I had to buy every stupid DLC. I enjoyed the crap out of it, but I will say that there's serious Destiny players. I am not a serious Destiny player, but I loved it for the time that I played it and the time I'm still playing it. I mean, I'm not logging in like 100 hours a week. I got a job. I got whatever. I got a life. I don't. No offense to Neo Mental, but
Wow.
Sorry about that, man. But for the time I played it, I loved it, and I loved it enough past my 10, 9, 8, and 7 game. So whatever you want to say. You want to say it's DLC, it doesn't count, whatever. It's something I played this year, and I loved it.
Strong title. It actually shocked me because we know that you're not a diehard Destiny player, so it actually is a big deal because that's how monumental it was for you as a gamer. I want to go to Jay, the Retro Gamer. What is your number 6 for 2018?
Yeah, for the record, anything can be on our personal top 10 list, whether it's DLC, expansions, what have you. It's just when it comes to Game of the Year as a group consideration, that's where it gets a little
fuzzy.
Yes. Yeah, a little fuzzy. But we don't ever expect that to happen. So whatever you played in 2018 you want to include, go for it.
Do me a curveball.
Yeah. So as for my number 6, we go with Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Nice.
That's strong.
The feel, full disclosure, the other 2 games were our group Game of the Years in the past, both Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider. And this game does feel a lot like the previous 2 iterations, which is a good thing. And it's a testament to how good 2018 was, that this game, which I really loved, wasn't even close to being my favorite game of the year. The fact that this game independently allows you to modify the difficulty, whether it's the combat or the exploration or the puzzles. You can make the combat harder and yet the puzzles easier, which I personally liked. The pacing of the game was really good. Knowing how much exploration I needed before giving me a puzzle or combat encounter to just mix things up, so nothing really gets too old. I mean, I'm not a stealth guy, but it's always satisfying when you can kind of go into a crowd of enemies and just kind of pick them off one by one.
Predator style. Yes, it was great.
Which is always good. Now, the upgrades, tree simply doesn't feel as good as the previous 2 games, which is why it wasn't higher. And plus, it had, like I said, it did have the same feel as the other 2 games. But overall, I really did enjoy it.
Oh, that's strong. That's a strong title. And for me, coming in at number 5 is Far Cry 5 by Ubisoft. I have to say, something about these Ubisoft collectathon games I really dig. And Far Cry, man, it had great weapons, it had great vehicles, fantastic, strong, deep story, really awesome bad guys, of what makes a good Far Cry game good. We know that the next one is a continuation of what happens at the end of Far Cry 5. I absolutely loved it. I put really hundreds of hours into it, and I cannot wait to come back to that very soon. As a matter of fact, New Dawn, I believe, is one of the big games releasing in the first quarter of 2019. Neo Mental, what is your number 5 game for 2018?
I'm actually going to ask you to skip me because I got to call Audible. Thanks to that guy over there. So just slide me past so I can just reorg my list real quick.
Yep, yeah, we'll come right back to you. Jay the Destroyer, what is your number 5 game for 2018?
Detroit.
Nice.
Awesome graphics, great gameplay. I don't even know what else. I love all the Quantic Dream games.
Yep, you do.
All of them. And I think this one was the best. And certainly graphically, it was probably in the top 3 graphically next to like Red Dead and God of War. And if you want to throw number like Shadow of the Tomb Raider in there also, I mean, it was up there. It was just an awesome game. Awesome game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Strong pick. We're going to go to Jay the Retro Gamer. What is your number 5 for 2018?
Yeah, my number 5 is Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Wow, it's really, dude. I'm shocked.
Wait, it just, there have been multiple Assassin's Creed games that have been my game of the year. I put in at least 100 hours into AC Origins. I destroyed that game. On this particular list, it's the biggest victim of just not having enough time on my part, just coming out at the wrong time with so many other great games. And like I said, there was some franchise fatigue on my part because I had played so much of Origins, and look forward to finishing it. And those who are listening who played Ubisoft games, you just know what to expect from it. It just kind of taps into that OCD nature of kind of checking off the boxes and collecting stuff. I do look forward to finishing it, but I just think the other games on my list are stronger. So
okay, it's a good point. Listen, that's what we do. That's why we're doing this. Everyone has a voice and an opinion, and it matters. And we're going to come back to Neo Mental. What is your number 5 game that you had to shift around?
All right, so my new 5 is now going to be Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Okay, strong pick.
Yeah, I loved it. I like what they're doing with Tomb Raider, shifting it to a more thematic style to it. The game was pretty solid. There was a few stupid points in that game. Like, I hated the part where you lose all your guns and the guys got the shotguns and stuff like that. You take them out and don't pick up their shotguns. I'm like, I don't understand what the point of this is. The guy's got a perfectly good working shotgun and body armor. Just pick it up. Just pick it up. So, I mean, whenever stuff like that takes me out of the game, it really stresses me out. Because I'm just sitting there yelling at, like, pick up the shotgun. Like, it's there. Like, I had so many times that happens. I get there trying to, like, force the narrative there. But, but it was a solid game. I beat it. I loved it. I like some of it.
He paid for it.
Yeah, he paid for it. All right.
Okay, good. Very well.
That wasn't Game Pass.
I'm just...
I'm trying to be funny, the guy. Listen, you're causing me problems today. Wait till I see you.
All right. Well, listen, let's move on to number 4. And my pick is Shadow of the Tomb Raider by Square Enix. I absolutely love this series. It's probably the best exploration type gaming I've done in this generation. I think what they have done with this game, the reinvention of the wheel, if you will, is second to none. I'm hoping and praying that this game sold well enough where we can get another trilogy and we can continue playing as Lara Croft. But I want to go to Neo Mental again. What is your number 4 title for 2018?
Well, now it would have to be Forsaken. They've had so many problems going into Forsaken. Everyone was pretty much violent. But knowing that Cade was going to get killed, when you start talking about thematics and stuff, especially the amount of hours that we've all put in, well, me and you have put into it, into the game, we've been attached to these characters. It's been a 3-year adventure.
Yep.
Just watching it, a lot of the game was just like, holy crap. And then them fixing the problems. I mean, Forsaken was their Taken King. So it was a lot of solid stuff. I really loved it. It was great. And it'll be interesting to see what the next couple of years have for the game. But yeah, that was my number.
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't know this. My brother Neo Mental had put over 4,000 hours into Destiny, probably well over that between the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One.
How do you find 4,000 hours to put into anything other than breathing? How do you find 4,000 hours?
Well, he figured it out.
Impossible.
What do you mean, bro? You see me online. Back then, what was I playing?
What does Mrs. Neo Mental think of 4,000 hours?
See,
you could have been spending like 2,000 hours with her and 2,000 hours with Destiny.
Listen. I have an amazing wife, and when we're in the living room and she's watching TV on the big screen, I have a system selector, and I have my screen right on the side. So I'm spending time with her, and I'm spending time with Destiny.
That's well, it's a listen, it worked out because they're still married. They're happily married, PS, by the way. But I want to move on to Jay the Destroyer. What is your number 4 game for 2018?
Well, I guess maybe my marriage would still be together if I spent 4,000 hours on it.
Yeah.
But then again, because of that, I now have an arcade in my house, which I never could have had before.
Well, it's a win-win for everyone, I think.
Win-win situation for everyone.
Just scarred your children. I just want you to know that.
Okay, number 4 is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. There's really not much to say about it. It's more of the same from the last one. I don't care. It's still great, and it's awesome. I played a ton of it, and if you haven't played it, you need to.
Yeah,
because it's up there with everybody else. It's up there with the Detroits. It's up there with the Red Deads. It's up there with the God of Wars. It deserves to be up there, even though on a lot of people's lists, it didn't get the love it should have. But there you go.
Okay, well, that's a great point. Jay, the Retro Gamer, what is your number 4 pick for 2018?
My number 4 pick is Far Cry 5.
Strong title.
Another Ubisoft game. I just love the setting of this, that it wasn't off in some far exotic place, and a story premise. I just love that even though it doesn't always hold up, I had this small notion that I was expecting some well thought out examination of a cultist leader and the cult. And then they gave me a mission where I had to rescue Cheeseburger the bear. And I realized that all of it's just bull. And it's just a backdrop for the usual Far Cry zaniness. But, it does have some cool character moments on it. It's just, I'm a huge mark for them. And this is just another great game in the series. They did release some DLC packs, which I touched. I think the first one, Hours of Darkness, which was good, but I haven't gotten to the rest of them. That was my number 4.
Well, that's a strong pick. And number 3 for me for 2018 is Spider-Man from Insomniac Games. Literally, it's so good that it could have been in the top. It could have been my game of the year. This and the next 2 games, trying to place these particular titles was extremely, literally misses by grains of grass. That's how close that they were. I'm 3 trophies away from the platinum. I have not played any of the DLC because there's literally been too much to play. I'm actually kind of glad that I'm going to play it in one shot without having to wait for the other DLC. Just announced 2 days ago, Marvel is once again doing some more DLC work for Insomniac Spider-Man in the form of the Fantastic Four DLC. No particulars were revealed other than they will be in this game. And I'm excited because, the big, hup up, if you will, when it comes to Sony games is that they're one and done. And this proves that is not, in fact, the case. But Neo Mental, what is your number 3 title for 2018?
God of War.
Strong title.
Yeah, it was a great ride. I had a problem with some of the mechanics because there's a lot of times where I just feel it wasn't keeping up. But the story was amazing. I think the change from hack and slash to more of a story-driven RPG element was done awesome. It was amazing. They did a great job on that game. The voice actors were amazing. It was a strong title. It was, you played it on the hardest difficulty. It was hard as balls. It was just a great game. It was a really great game. I enjoyed it. Now I can't wait to the next one.
Yeah, I'm happy that it received the accolades it deserves. Sony Santa Monica had a real difficult task in front of them, reinventing the wheel. What they did was nothing short of amazing. But Jay the Destroyer, what is your number 3 pick?
This is a game I did not pay for, but I loved nonetheless. The Horizons 4.
Nice.
Awesome game.
Nice.
Matter whether I paid $1 for it or $60 for it. I played it the same way. I played it like a person who was in love with it. One of the best racers ever. I don't know what to tell you. It's it's up. It really is up there with some of the greatest ever. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's in the Game Pass, and you'll love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Playground Games knocked it out of the park. They proved to everyone that you can still continue to evolve games that are in their, in their late parts of their lives, the 3s, the 4s, the 5s. And it was just amazing from start to finish. I agree with you. Jay, the Retro Gamer, what is your number 3 pick, sir?
My number 3 pick is also my number 1 retro-inspired game of the year, and that is Guacamelee 2.
Nice. That's a strong pick for the PS4.
Again, I think a lot of people are not going to give this game the credit it deserves in light of everything else, which was great this year. It took what was great about the original and just made it more challenging. But it's one of those games where you just pick up a controller and the controls of the game just feel so satisfying and responsive. And the way it integrates all of the traversal powers in the game, and the design is just perfection. It's got funny moments. It's got funny characters. And yes, there are a few frustrating sections in the game, but just never enough to distract from the overall package.
Yeah, no, that's good. That actually was just announced for the Xbox platform. I believe it's coming out at the end of the month. That I'm going to be getting that. It's normally a $20 game, but I think they have it on sale for $15.99. So if you like Metrovanias, if you enjoyed Guacamelee 1, I think it's something everyone should support. That company is fantastic. And we're going to move on to the number 2 game for me personally. And I'm telling you, it literally missed out by a hair. And that is God of War from Sony Santa Monica. I called this as my game of the year in 2017. I'm not sorry that it's not game of the year. And I'm also sorry that it's not game of the year. I think that this is a complete masterpiece. I don't know what to say other than if you have a PS4, my God, please get out there, support this company, support the reinvention of Kratos. It is an unbelievable story from start to finish, well over 30 plus hours, no DLC, unfortunately. I think that's my only dissatisfaction with the title. We talked about this on Gaming News at Noon with Salty and Boom, where Cory Barlog has his DLC he had planned was so big that he was called insane by his coworkers. I'm hoping that they release it as a side story, very similar to Lost Legacy for Uncharted. I would gladly pay $30 to get another side story of Kratos and his son. But you know what, Neo Mental, what is your number 2 game for 2018?
Would be Spider-Man.
I've never heard of it.
Spider-Man, bro.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, I loved it. It was a really tight game. There's a little bit of a learning curve with the controls for it, but once you really got into it, I loved it. The graphics were just insane. It was a tight game. I haven't got the DLC yet. I'm gonna probably scoop those up this weekend and run into them. But I loved everything about it. I think it was a great direction. I love the fact that they threw him into the regular Marvel universe. Great game. Great game.
All right. Well, I mean, listen, that's a strong pick. That's a strong pick, and it deserves to be there. What they were able to do with this game, it was nothing short of amazing. Jay the Destroyer, what is your number 2 pick for 2018?
My number 2 pick is Spider-Man.
Nice.
And I'm gonna say it's probably one of the best. It's one of the best superhero games ever. And that beginning, that first 20 minutes, with the second you jump out the window, is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And Insomniac really hit it out of the park with that one. Graphically amazing. It could easily be my number 1, but it's not. But there you go. It's my number 2.
Oh, well, it's a strong pick. And last but certainly not least, Jay the Retro Gamer, what is your number 2 pick for 2018?
My number 2 pick, boy, is God of War.
Strong.
I got to preface this by saying, like, the first 2 games were both personal Games of the Year winners for me. It's the only word to describe this game is epic.
Yes.
It is a stunning achievement. I think one of the things that gets overlooked is in the design of the game, Corey Barlog designed it so that it is one continuous camera shot throughout the whole thing, unless you die at any point in it. And which I don't think a lot of people appreciate just how much that affected the immersiveness in the story. And we said this before, but it takes Kratos, the one-dimensional character, and really kind of fleshes him out. And just the core combat mechanics are just so satisfying. I personally had a little bit of a problem with some of the upgrade trees, and it was a little bit confusing at first, so I kind of put it down for a couple of weeks and then came back to it. But when I did, I went through it. The story was just phenomenal. And just there's something that happens midway through the game, which if you're an old God of War fan, just gave me the chills because I was surprised that it happened. But you know, I can't say enough great things about it. It's just an amazing, amazing game.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I would agree 100%. And now we're moving on to everyone's Game of the Year 2018. For me personally, I think I've said it half a dozen times live on the air, so it's not going to come off as a surprise to anyone. But for me, it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It is a game that like I said in the opening, I've put nearly 200 hours of gameplay into. It's something that I could not put down. I loved everything about it. The weapon design was fantastic. It just was a game that told an amazing story from two different perspectives. And it's probably one of the finest in the series. It brought back the ship battles that a lot of people really enjoyed. I enjoyed sailing the high seas and fighting pirates and other, ships that you came across. I thought it was I tell you, one of the things that, that I really enjoyed about the game is its design. There are so many backstories that you could miss unless you're looking for them, especially when you talk about some of the, some epic creature battles that you can have. Some of the best I've had in gaming, hunting down these creatures and getting the backstory of them were fantastic. But Neo Mental, I want to get it. What is your game of the year for 2018?
Surprise, surprise, Detroit Become Human.
Oh, strong pick, dude. Talk about it.
Yeah, I love the game. I mean, I beat it probably like 9 different times. There's only 2 trophies I need to go back and do. And it's only because you have to pick a certain path to get certain things to unlock, like these magazines or whatever. So I just need like 2 little things to do, and then I've got it platinum. I loved it. I loved playing it constantly, seeing the different paths and seeing how everything shook out. Like I said before, the voice acting was amazing. The graphics were tight. The story was solid. There's a lot of parallels going on. I just loved it. They just really gave us a solid game. I had not one single complaint about the game. Not a single one. I want another one at this point. I know there was a lot of problems with the developer, which is horrible to hear, but I love the game. The game was tight. And I really wish it would have gotten more than it did.
Yeah, that's a strong pick. We talked about this privately. I knew it was going to be up there for you. You loved this game. You loved all the side stories and the choices and the right and wrong answers that you could pick, and it just really changed the story when you made a certain choice. I played this game walking on my tippy toes because I didn't want to make a wrong choice, especially because I cared about the character so much. But Jay the Destroyer, what is your game of the year for 2018?
My number one game, I've probably played about 6,000 hours of this game. I've actually been playing it since the moment it was released, and I'm still playing it right now, actually, in the background.
Is it bendy?
6,001 hours. No, it's not. It's not bendy. It is God of War.
Great pick.
I think if the closest for me this year that you could get to a perfect, me game, everything I love in gaming, big graphics, epic story. This was it. And they just the technical achievement that it was completely off the charts. So I think we're going to have a problem this year with what the number one game is, because it looks like
Oh yeah.
Might be a little confusing, but God of War for me, there really was nothing even remotely close to it. Nothing.
Okay, I mean, it's a strong pick. It should have been my game of the year. It got edged out by, like I said, a hair. And last but certainly not least, Jay, the retro gamer, what is your personal game of the year for 2018?
Yeah, I'm about to make things really interesting for the group game of the year, because my #1 game of 2018, without question,
Bendy
is not Bendy though. That is my #1 game was Marvel's Spider-Man.
Good, strong. That's a strong pick, dude. That really is.
You know, from the outset, Spider-Man just has an unfair advantage on the list because I'm already a huge Spider-Man fan, and there's been a lot of great Spider-Man games that have come before it. But with Insomniac at the helm, they could have just put out just another good Spider-Man game, but they made one that just knocked it out of the park. The only better superhero game I've ever played was Batman Arkham City, in my opinion.
solid.
I mean, the game is not without its flaws. I mean, it's not even the best designed game of the year when you compare it to God of War, but it's how it seamlessly kind of combines all of the aspects that you expect from a Spider-Man game. It's got great traversal. It's got great combat, then has like a Batman Arkham feel to it, as well as combined with it, the Ratchet and Clank games.
Yes,
done so well. The story and the voice performances. Normally, like some of these games, you can kind of almost skip through a lot of that stuff, but I genuinely was invested in the story. I mean, the mission design for the most part was very interesting, though I could have done without some of the obligatory stealth missions in the game. The collectibles in this game, like, if you're a Spider-Man fan, are just fun.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
This was Insomniac's first crack at Spider-Man. I can't imagine what they would do with a sequel. And in the end, it was the only game of the year that I platinumed, and I simply had more fun playing this game than I did anything else. So, that's what, this is all about. So.
I mean, listen, again, that's what we play games for. Sure, being a part of social media, you want to be in the know, so you're going to play something that everyone's talking about. But at the end of the day, when it comes to lists, you want to put something on there that you had the most hashtag fun with, and I think that's important. So what I'm going to do now is, I know that Jay the Retro Gamer has to do a workaround on the point system to see what is going to be the group game of the year based on the points on where certain games fell in the list. But we're gonna just talk about, and this is the last topic of the today's show. We're running past a little past 90 minutes, so just bear with us. It's going to be what we're expecting in 2019. Now, 2019 is shaping up to potentially outpace 2018. And even saying that out loud is crazy, considering the list that we just put together. The first 3 months are not only an assault on the wallet, but to actually have the time to play everything may also be an added problem. Let's discuss what we are expecting in 2019 and what we think will be in the running for Game of the Year 2019. And as Jay the Retro continues his very difficult task of putting this numbers thing together, I'm going to go first and say this. I've already called it on numerous shows. I'm going to say it on this show. My Game of the Year 2019 is and will be, without any doubt, Resident Evil 2, the remake. I played the demo. It is a masterpiece. Resident Evil 2, as many people in the community know, is my favorite game of all time. I think that this game actually might move into the #1 spot, pulling out the 1998 version into the second spot. I am looking forward to this game. I have the collector's edition. No surprise there. I will be doing an unboxing on my channel. I'm looking forward to this game. I think that the half-an-hour demo, even though it was cruel of Capcom to do that, I would still be playing it. I'd be playing it half hour after half hour after half hour, trying to get that further. But you know what? It was a tease. Many people were sold on the demo. I think that was their point. 2 other games that are going to be ongoing open world multiplayer games that have me tickled pink. or the Division 2, which Neo Mental and our crew will be getting down day one. Big shout out to them. And of course, the new game from BioWare, Anthem, looks to be absolutely stunning. Neo Mental and I are going to be playing this, smiling ear to ear, because we're both Robotech guys, we're both Transformer guys, and this is as close to a game you can get using mechs. That you can, and again, we like these collectathons, we like these looter shooters, and from what I hear behind the scenes, we're going to get some, microtransactions, not a dirty word, for cosmetics, and you'll be able to dress up your, Javelin in any way you want. So I'm excited for that. But I want to go to Neo Mental. 2019 is poised to be a big year for gaming. Again, possibly bigger than 2018. What are you most looking forward to in the coming year?
I mean, first and foremost, Division 2. I already got the week. My vacation week's already in for it. I'm gonna be there like the second the friggin' thing drops to download, and I'm gonna kill it that entire week. I think most of the crews already got their sick days ready, so
I can't wait.
It's gonna be insane. That for me is like that right there is the only thing I'm looking forward to. Everything else is just like I don't even know how Anthem's gonna roll, because Anthem's gonna come out first. We're gonna be playing that like crazy, and then once the Division comes, it's getting forgotten about. So there's a lot of stuff coming out in 2019. So between those two, those are like the big ones. I'm curious to know, how this whole Bungie thing is going to shake out. I mean, we're not going to see anything affecting that until probably another year and a half. But I'm curious to see how that's going to change their year. And for me right now, I mean, that's really it. I played the Resident Evil demo last night, which was out of character for me because I played it in the pitch black. The graphics are tight. The movement's a little off, but I think I might actually pick it up.
Do it. It doesn't have spiders, so we're good.
No, there was a scene. There's a room that's supposed to have the spiders in too.
Okay, well then you're gonna have to have someone play it for you. My brother does not like spiders, like most people, but big spiders that are 8 feet tall that will eat you in one bite, I guess would scare anybody.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a no-go for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think that's what's on my radar right now. I mean, like I said, Division 2 is that's life right there. So.
Okay, well, that's listen. We're on the same page. We played the shit out of Division 1, thousands of hours. I cannot wait to get into 2. I know people like Def Jam Bam and a few guys on the Iron Lords podcast cannot wait to get down, as well as yes, there's plenty of people in the community I'm going to be playing with. I cannot wait. Slow Mo Backslap is also a Division fan, and we already. Said that we're going to team up, so that's going to be fun. Jay the Destroyer 2019, besides retro arcade machines coming out, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to retro arcade machines like Final Fight,
yes,
like MK2.
Yes.
But besides that, all the big games coming out, I get that. Your Divisions and your Anthems and this and that. For me, and I know it's probably going to be more 2020, but if Sega could get their shit together, where is Shenmue 3? Please just get that out. And Streets of Rage, the new Streets of Rage
looks amazing.
I love that. So that's for me. It's not always going to be the most popular game or the most, like I said, the Anthems and the Divisions, because those are going to come out. Those are going to be great, But those smaller games, and I'm expecting nothing from Shenmue 3. Zero. My expectations are low. So hopefully we'll see the light of that in 2019.
Yes. And real quick, before I let you go, and because I care about you as a brother, please explain to us what the hell Bendy is. Please.
Bendy is a game it's a digital game. You could get that on anything. It's on the Xbox, and it's cut into 5 chapters, I think. And for whatever reason, my kids Love it. It's called Bendy and the Ink Machine. It looks good. It's technically supposed to, if you, it's like a very kid horror game, if you want to call it that. It's a kid-friendly horror game.
Okay. All right.
And,
well, listen.
It's got a nice art style, and it's $20.
Okay.
And there
All
you
right,
go.
well,
They love it for some reason.
Well, you know what? I had to save you from the murder that would have taken place next time your son came over, because he's been in the chat really championing this game, and I like to interact with the chat. You guys know that. And Jay the Retro Gamer, now I know that you're hard at work at this number crunch that you're doing, but for you personally, what are you looking forward to in 2019?
You know, I know Craig's obvious answer and Dan's obvious answer is to no one's surprise, and mine will be to absolutely no one's surprise. My 2019 most anticipated game is Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Sure, strong title, dude. Real strong.
Yeah, it's probably the original is probably my favorite game of all time. I was immensely proud during E3 to see how Microsoft showed its confidence in the game by opening the press conference with the gameplay trailer, and just how it teased all the new stuff to expect. And then at the end, only to have my heart sink that they didn't reveal a release window. So I'm hoping it's in the first half of the year.
That would be nice. Maybe right before E3 2019 would be nice. Maybe sometime in May would be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'd like it sooner, but that seems to be the sweet spot for them, I think. I mean, there's certainly others, but this is the only one that matters. And just like you, I'm calling it now. This game will be, you know, I will be heartbroken if it's not, that it will be my 2019 game of the year. And to quote the late, great Stan Lee, enough said.
Yes, Excelsior indeed. Now, in regards to the point system that you have made up, first of all, were you able to hash out a winner?
Well, the big winner of this list is going to be Sony exclusives.
Yes, that is a big deal. Yes.
Sony exclusives and single-player games for those who are big fans of the Fortnites and the Destinies of the world. So happy about that. Unfortunately, we are in a situation where we have a tie for group game of the year
every year.
It's every year like this. Okay, well, listen, real quick, explain to the listeners exactly what you've done, and what does this group game of the year mean? Like, what is the number system that you've come up with? How does that work?
Yeah, it's nothing complicated. All I do is assign a point value to each of the top 10, where the number 10 is on everyone's list is worth 1 point, and the number 1 is worth 10. You add them up, and you come up with a winner. So when I did the number crunching, it turns out that both God of War and Spider-Man both earned 36 points, which means that we are now deadlocked in a tie for group game of the year.
Well, you know what? Then you know, obviously, I think anyone that stayed in the chat that will be listening, it would almost be a crime against humanity if we didn't let the people know live on the air what our pick is. And I'll go first, and I'm going to say this: both games are absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited as a Sony fan. There's something about, and I say this all the time, they're single player, story driven, adult themed titles that do get a lot of crap from the Xbots who ruin the community. And again, we easily talk about the PS4 toxic community. Well, guess what, folks? The Xbox has those guys too, and they're the first ones rah-rahing about these one-and-done games. I'm going to say this: someone who supports all of these so-called one-and-done games, who truly enjoys what Sony brings to the table. I'm so stoked to say that my choice is going to be God of War for group game of the year. Well deserved. I think the game is a masterpiece. Cory Barlog and his team should be applauded every time they walk down the street. I want to go to you, Neo Mental. Out of the two, between Spider-Man, which is another masterpiece, and God of War, what would be your pick for group game of the year?
Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to go with Spider-Man.
Okay, strong.
Spider-Man. You know, I mean, God of War was a tight game. You know, thematically on both of them, I think Spider-Man just has to edge it out for me. I really do. I mean, between the whole arc with Doc Ock,
a lot of strong storytelling in that game, man. Can't argue that.
Yeah. I'm really gonna go with Spider-Man.
Okay, and now we're going to move on to Jay the Destroyer. What is your pick between the two for Group Game of the Year 2018?
Bendy.
Is there any chance for Jurassic Park Evolution or Bendy to win this?
No, they're certainly not.
Okay, then it's easy. It's God of War.
Okay, strong title. I mean, listen, it may not be as good as Bendy, but it's still a top title for the Sony PlayStation system. That's a strong pick. And last but certainly not least, Jay the Retro Gamer, it seems like you might have the deciding de facto vote for Group Game of the Year. What are you going with, sir?
It's either a win or a tie.
Yeah, we certainly have a unique situation here.
Okay, I mean, listen, don't pick it because it's it's the popular vote. You got to pick what you like.
Yeah, there was just some things in the design of God of War, just small things that just kind of make Spider-Man edge out for me. It's hard for me to kind of get behind God of War as Game of the Year.
Okay, well, listen, this is where so we're deadlocked at 2 for 2. And I'm gonna
Bendy wins.
Well, listen, Bendy could possibly sneak in and win. What I'm going to do is this: because we're doing this live, because we have over 60 people watching live in a show that I didn't expect to get a lot of traction with, we're going to reach out to the community. Do me a favor, folks. If you want to be involved in this, give us your choice: Spider-Man or Game of the Year, for Group Game of the Year, or should it be God of War? I think that is the fairest way to do it, considering we are deadlocked. What are we talking about, folks? Let me get the community's help. God of War for Group Game of the Year 2018, or Spider-Man for Group Game of the Year. And I will wait a second. Again, someone said Bendy. We got a couple of Bendies in there. SB Nemesis says God of War. Leonidas says God of War. Cyber Gunter says Spider-Man. G-Man says God of War. It looks like God of War is going to, based on what popular fan vote is going to be. We got another Bendy. We got God of War from Rex. Let's see. We got God of War from Antonio. Jay Destroyer. God of War. UK Dazarus. The Dear God. That's not on the list, brother. I'm sorry. Again, we got another God of War. I don't know, man. It looks like
we don't want to be trendsetters.
Hey, listen, we have Dad of War from DJ Singh. That's a good one. We got another Bendy. Then Bendy's making Ice Queen Gaming. Thank you for coming. That is, she's saying God of War. Listen, I hate to say this, folks. The show's getting a little long in the tooth, and we have to close this down. So I think it's going to have to be God of War 2018 Group Game of the Year. Thanks to the community stepping up and helping us on this deal. I'm not sorry about this. Spider-Man was great, but God of War was better. Is everyone satisfied on the panel with that choice?
Yes.
Yeah. General consensus should always win it. So yeah.
All right, well, then that is it, folks. As it stands right now, thanks to the fifth and not so silent man, the community stepped in when we needed you. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show. It was really awesome to interact. Sorry that Bendy did not get the nomination that everyone hoped and dreamed that it did. Listen, this has been a great show. I have to say, I did not expect how this was going to go. I didn't know. Because this is the first live one, but man, the community came out big. You guys absolutely on the panel killed it. Sharing some of your personal stories of where you came from in gaming was a really big treat for me personally. I think it was a treat for the community, and we're going to get on out of here because we have a few things to do before we get together and have dinner this evening. First, I want to go to my brother, Nia Mental. Listen, dude, you are, of course, my brother. You are my confidant. You are my best friend. I look forward to hanging out with you and talking with you each and every day that we do. Please tell everyone where they could follow you on Twitter.
I will. Just 1 second. I do want to give a shout out to State of Decay 2. It was in my top 10, but since Destroyer screwed me up, that would be an honorable mention because it definitely was in my top 10. I did like it. So shout out to State of Decay 2. So I'm not really a podcaster. I'm on Twitter I'm up there. Neo Mental, Xbox Live, PSNs, Neo Mental across the board. So anywhere you want to find me, I interact with people. I'm all for having fun. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I have to give a big shout out to a Bronx native known as G-Man1172 who says, Funkoland Unite. And yes, we will be uniting this evening for dinner. And I have to talk to now Jay the Destroyer. I'm very, very stoked to come over tonight, hang out. We don't crack beers. We'll probably have a coffee and some, a dessert or two. And we will be, touring your arcade that looks something that you'd only find in, Yonkers Nathan's. If anyone remembers that, they had a huge arcade. Please tell everyone where they could find you.
It's Jay the Destroyer or just search for it on Twitter. And if you're looking to buy an arcade one-up machine, I might be selling one soon to make some room. And that's pretty much it. This was a great show. I had a ton of fun. And take care, everybody.
Yes, well, thanks so much for hanging out, dude. This was a lot of fun. And last but certainly not least, Jay the Retro Gamer, the points master, the guy that put this system together and at every turn, every year seems to screw us as a group because we have these ties. I was glad that it didn't come down to a coin flip. I'm glad that the community got involved. That was a big deal for me personally. So thank you guys for that. Jay the Retro Gamer, you don't do a lot of tweeting. You don't have a lot of followers, but I still think that you do have a lot of gaming knowledge and people should head over to your Twitter page, give you a follow, and you should tweet some more for absolutely sure. Tell everyone where they could follow you on Twitter.
Unsurprisingly, Jay the Retro Gamer.
Okay, well, it's simple, but yet effective. Well, listen, guys, this was fantastic. I have to give a big shout out to the over 60 people watching. More so, not so much for the number. First of all, the super chats were greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for that. But the way that you guys treat each other in this chat is a big deal for me because I am known as Officer Friendly. Yes, my life is filled with unicorns and rainbows, and I'm proud of that. And I really, really am happy that the chat does follow that tradition because you know what? At the end of the day, it's just games, and we should treat each other with respect. So I want to say a good night and a goodbye, and a thank you to everyone that came out today. A thank you again to my panel, and have a great Saturday, everyone. Take care.
Later.